He's going to lead this fight, George, to get this done over the next couple of weeks. And it'll be something that Democrats can be proud to run on in November.
So it won't cost them the House, and if it does, so be it?
I don't think it's going to cost Democrats the House.
White House Press Secretary Robert Gibbs on GMA this morning. Clearly, both parties agree a health care bill passing is something they want to run on.
President said he's going to leave the politics to others. Others are taking up the charge. Top Line starts right now.
Hello and welcome to ABCNews.com's Top Line. I'm David Chalian.
And I'm Rick Klein.
Each weekday we're bringing you the very latest political headlines, reporting, insight, analysis, everything you need and want to know about politics.
And it's twitter.com/thenote. You can answer our question of the day, give us questions for their guests, you name it.
Get us started. What is your top line today, Rick?
Massa's mess. The soon-to-be ex-congressman from New York, Eric Massa, gets one more spin through the news cycle. He has got a series of interviews today on television, on CNN and on Fox News that is going to keep him in the news for one more day. Bad news for the White House that he's still out there. And that rambling, odd, just absolutely bizarre radio rant that he went on over the weekend, still getting a lot of coverage, a lot of play. We'll play a little bit of it later on today. It's just a bad time for these kind of just weird stories to be emerging for Democrats and for the White House.
Right. The weirdness is what is getting the attraction. I mean, he talks about being naked in a shower with Rahm Emanuel or the locker room. That's what's getting all the attraction here. That's actually not what the damaging news is. Potentially, it is this completely unsubstantiated claim for which Massa provides absolutely no proof that he says he's being muscled out because of his health care vote. Well, today, you had Robert Gibbs going against him saying that's silly and ridiculous. You had Steny Hoyer, the leader of the House Dems, the House Majority Leader, saying that that is absurd and it's not true. And Massa's not yet named a name as to who talked to him about this. So for now, he seems to just be a man that is standing on an island, and of course cable TV willing to give him that island. Stupak's softening. Yes, the Congressman Bart Stupak from Michigan, who has been the pro-life Democrat that has been sort of the toughest obstacle for Nancy Pelosi and her fellow leaders on Capitol Hill on abortion, is now saying he's more optimistic, Rick, that they can work out language with the White House than he was a week ago, and that they actually might find a path here. Of course, the key to that is that language can't actually be put into this bill the way that they're going to pass health care.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that he's saying now that he's more optimistic because no one has changed their stance on either side. So it's unclear if this is just one straight soundbite where he's trying to sound good for the cameras or if this is something where he's serious. If he is serious, this is going to help that path back to 216, no question. Alexi's visit. Alexei Giannoulis, the Democratic nominee for Barack Obama's old Senate seat in Illinois, is in town today. He'll be swinging by the White House where he'll meet with some of the top political aides over there. And really, he's going to have to make the case back to the White House that this is a winnable seat. We've seen Republicans very optimistic about their chances in this. He's got more and more troubles by the day. His family bank appears to be failing. It's going down. And Democrats obviously need to hold on to seats like Illinois, do anything they can to keep that in the fold.
You talk about damaging storylines for the White House. This Alexei Giannoulis storyline is far more damaging than anything Eric Massa could say to the White House because it's all about what the president campaigns against. This idea that you can't have a bank that fails and then make money off of that. It seems that is what's happening with him. It is a terrible, terrible narrative for the White House. And finally today, mind the gap. Yes, Democracy Corps poll from James Carville, Stan Greenberg, Quinlan Rossner, and others, taking a look at national security and how that's testing. You know that in 2006 and 2008, Rick, Democrats made up a huge amount of ground on this issue, basically drawing to a tie with Republicans. And now it looks like the public is starting to revert back to traditional thoughts on this and giving Republicans advantage on this in no small part to the mishandling of the Christmas Day bomber episode.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Iraq and Afghanistan have faded so much as issues, but you're right. Terrorism issues, national security issues, still very important and potentially weak spots for President Obama.
We begin with the huge healthcare battle and Nancy Pelosi's quest to get to 216 votes. We're joined by Democratic Congressman from Ohio, Dennis Kucinich, up on Capitol Hill. He will not be one of those votes, he says, for Nancy Pelosi to pass healthcare. But I understand that you're a no vote now. I guess my question for you, Congressman Kucinich, is if Speaker Pelosi sat in a room with you, what could she say to get you to yes?
Well, I sit in rooms often with Speaker Pelosi, who I admire and who's a friend of mine. But the Speaker and the President both know very well why I voted against the bill in the first place, that it didn't have a public option, and this current bill has no public option. And while I took a stand for single payer, public option was a compromise. In addition to that, an amendment that I had put in a bill in committee was stripped out later, and that amendment would have protected states who want to start a single payer system. So, you know, they know my position, and unless there's some dramatic change in the content of the bill, I think they can predict how I'm going to vote.
Would you have any qualms about if this came to the House floor and they're at 215 and this is going to fail unless Congressman Kucinich changes his vote, seeing that actually light up on the board and go down?
Well, you have to keep in mind, this isn't only up to me. It's up to the White House. The president knows what he needs to do to be able to get the votes. And frankly, my position's been manifestly clear. We have to have a public option because the insurance companies are gouging people, and without a public option, there's no competition on premiums. We've had 5 consecutive years of double-digit increase in premiums. The insurance companies are going to get a $70 billion giveaway from the federal government annually with no control over premiums. I mean, what are they about at the White House? They might package this as some great benefit, but why do you have to give the insurance companies a pound of flesh here? You know, this thing isn't over. They know what they have to do to get the votes, and if they need my vote badly enough, I suppose they have to think about a robust public option and about the ERISA, addressing the ERISA preemption, which would in effect protect states from attacks by insurance companies if the states want to establish a single-payer system.
So, Congressman, on the politics of this then, do you agree with Republicans that say if the Democrats do pass this, they're not going to be able to sell this bill as a positive to the American people? Do you agree with that assessment, that they're not going to be able to sell this?
Listen, I think that the president, from the start of his term, could have changed his position and sold single payer where everyone would have been covered. It would have helped business and industry. But
I mean, this bill, if this bill passes, will they be able to sell this?
Well, the only way they will be able to do that is if we don't address the issues of people being out of work, of people losing their homes. You know, there's underlying economic issues that also feed into the health care issue. This isn't about the 2010 election is not going to be a one-issue election. And the Republicans who are fronting for insurance company interests, I don't have any sympathy for them. I think that the Democrats ought not be fronting for insurance company interests. And frankly, every time they lay a bill out, insurance stocks go up. I mean, how would that happen? If the insurance companies like a Democratic bill, they may talk against it, but the smart money on Wall Street says buy the insurance company stocks. I mean, we have to have a bill for the American people. And if the administration wants to change its position, I'm all ears.
And so to be clear, this bill, in your judgment, does more bad than good, does more harm than good?
Well, it establishes a deep-rooted foundation for privatization of our entire healthcare system. It is a giveaway of $70 billion a year to the insurance companies, who, by the way, are in the business of making a profit. They're not in the business of giving health care. So this is about insurance care. It's not about health care, because insurance companies make money not providing health care. Everyone knows that. So if everyone knows that, then why is the White House trying to sell this as some kind of a deal where it's the best thing since sliced bread? I mean, I admire the president. Right. I want to help him out, but he's got to come, you know, in a direction where I can help.
Congressman, your soon-to-be former colleague, Eric Massa of upstate New York, also voted no in November on the health care bill because there was not a robust public option in there. He's now claiming that the White House and leading Democrats have sort of strong-armed him out of Congress because of his health care vote. Do you believe that charge?
Well, let me tell you about my experience. I've been in Congress for almost 14 years, and I have never experienced any kind of strong-arm tactics. So, you know, what happens is if somebody's a newer member, they may have a perception that there's pressure being put on them, and how they interpret it is as vast as individuals' personalities. But you know what? I've never experienced anything like that, and I've taken some pretty tough stands.
Briefly, Congressman, you've got a resolution to end the war in Afghanistan within 30 days. It'll be on the House floor on Thursday. How many votes are you anticipating getting in making this statement? You
know, I can't predict that. All I can tell you is that this is the first time we've had a real debate on Afghanistan. And I think what we're doing with this debate is to reawaken the American people's attention to the war, and to get Congress to start to focus on a war that's cost us 1,000 lives of our troops, costing hundreds of billions of dollars, the lives of innocent Afghanistan people, and frankly, the occupation's fueling an insurgency. Counterinsurgency is a failed doctrine. We need to take a new direction. That direction's out. That's what the debate's about tomorrow. I can't predict how many people are going to vote for the resolution.
Congressman Dennis Kucinich, Democrat of Ohio, thank you very much for being with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. I'm not sure if we'll see the president come back to the negotiating table on this end of things.